Greetings, Earthling Reader friends. Today we are going to be doing the Unpopular Opinions book tag. This is a tag that I've wanted to do since I've started my booktube channel. I had to do it in a way that I didn't want to offend people, and I don't want to offend any authors with this video. I don't mean to do any harm, so this is just a disclaimer. These are just my opinions, and if you happen to like any of these series, or if you happen to like these authors then you can like whatever you want. These are just my opinions. So the first question is a popular book or series that you did not like. I did the Dollenganger series. I don't know what it's really called. I know that it's called the Flowers in the Attic series or something. I read all 5 books. I think there's 4 and then there's like a 5th companion book to it. So I read all 5 books and they're all by V.C. Andrews. They disturbed me in a really odd way. It's a really weird series, and it made me uncomfortable to read it, honestly. Like, I remember reading it, I think I read it 3 or 4 years ago, and it's really freaked me out since then. It's very much made an impact on me, and I don't even know how to describe it. It's just an odd series that I would not recommend at all. Question 2. A popular book or series that everyone seems to hate but you love. So I couldn't think of one that people hated per se, but there is one that people don't really talk about on BookTube that I liked, that I enjoyed, and that is the Hannibal Lecter series by Thomas Harris. I like how well thought out the plot lines are and how interesting the antagonists are and the main characters, how they think. And the storyline is very well developed, with character arcs that are interesting, to say the least. So if you haven't read that series, I would definitely recommend it. It's very interesting. 3 is a love triangle where the main character did not end up with the person that you liked, or an OTP that you do not like. OTP meaning one true pairing. So I couldn't really think of one because usually I'm pretty good at discerning who the character is going to end up with, and I usually like who the person ends up with. But there was one case where I didn't like that Daisy ended up with Tom instead of Gatsby in The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I know why it had to happen, but I mean, now I know why it had to happen to advance the story, and I know all the literature elements that went into that decision. But when I was like 13 and I read it for the first time, I was like, no, why didn't she pick Gatsby? So definitely Gatsby and Daisy, I would have shipped them. Tom was just brash and annoying. And irritating, and a whole lot of other adjectives. 4 is a popular book genre that you hardly reach for. So if you've known my channel and you've seen the books that I review, I probably have not and will not ever review a romance novel. They just don't interest me, and I don't find them compelling. I find them like dull. But if you like them, that's okay, that's your thing. For me, I'd rather read like science fiction or historical fiction or something that, you know, compels me to read. Romance novels just aren't my thing. Question 5 is a popular or beloved character that you did not like. So I have a funny story about this one, actually. My answer is Romeo Montague. When I was a sophomore in high school, I actually wrote an essay entitled The Main Reasons Why I Hate Romeo Montague. I got an A on it, by the way. And it was like a 3-page paper on why I did not like Romeo Montague from Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. I think he's irritating, and I think he's just hormonal. I don't think he really loves Juliet, and Juliet's like a kid, and there's a million reasons why I don't like Romeo and Juliet, but mainly the reasons why I don't like Romeo is I think he's just irritating, and the whole love at first sight thing in that is just odd to me. I mean, I find the love at first sight trope like weird. 6 is a popular author you can't seem to get into. So for this one, I didn't have to think too hard because Stephenie Meyer came to mind right away. I read the first Twilight book and I hated it. I really, really hated it. I didn't like the writing. I didn't find it interesting. And I'm like into vampires. I think they're cool, and I think their mythology is cool, and the whole history behind vampires and stuff is interesting. But then I read Twilight and I was like, So then I read The Chemist by Stephenie Meyer because I was like, oh, it's different. It's not the same characters as Twilight. And I read The Chemist and it was meh. It was a little bit better. It wasn't as boring as Twilight, but it was a little bit better. And that was pretty much it. So I just can't get into Stephenie Meyer's writing. I find it like monotone and pretty dull. But that's just my opinion. You know, again, you can like who you like. It's just Stephenie Meyer is not one of my favorite authors. Popular book trope you're tired of seeing is number 7. So for this one, I chose between 2 because I could not decide between the 2 because they really, really bother me when I see them in books, and I'm just like, oh my god, I can't believe they're using this trope. So number 1 is the love triangle. I am so sick of seeing this in books, and it happens a lot in YA, more so than like adult literature, or the new adult literature. It happens a lot in YA, and I just, it's annoying, man. I don't think it adds anything to the story. I think it actually is detrimental to plots and stuff, because it really only advances the main character. It doesn't advance the other 2 characters that much. So, yeah, I don't like the love triangle. And the second trope that I do not like is the chosen one. I think that is one of the most overused tropes ever. I mean, we have Harry Potter, The Hobbit, Percy Jackson, and those are all really good books, and those are good examples of the chosen one, like where the chosen one was done well. But then you have books, you have other books where the chosen one trope is done horribly, and it totally tanks the story. And yeah, so it's like you can kind of gauge where it's going after reading a few chapters. Like Percy Jackson, it was done well. The Hobbit, it was done well. Harry Potter, it was done well. But in other books, it's not done great. So it's done like haphazardly, and it doesn't work out well. Number 8 is a popular series you have no interest in reading. For me, this is Tahereh Mafi's Shatter Me series. I love Tahereh Mafi's writing. I'm going to read Furthermore and Witchwood, because they sound really interesting, and I read part of them. I got an excerpt of them. But Shatter Me doesn't seem to grab me as much as her other series. I have no idea why. So I don't have the time to read, as I have like a lot of other books on my TBR that I'd much rather read than read the Shatter Me series. But maybe if I condensed my TBR, and after I read more of the stuff that's in my TBR pile, I will give this book a chance, this series a chance rather. But as of right now, I don't think I plan on reading it. I don't. So for question 9, it says, the saying goes that the book is always better than the movie, but what is an example where the movie is better than the source material? The graphic novel is amazing on its own. However, I think the show is written in a way that like adds more to the story that was created for the comic book, and I'm talking about Winona Earp. I think that the show adds more elements to the story and changes the story and gives more background than the comic books do. I've read all the comic books and they're awesome on their own, but I think that the show is a little bit more lighthearted, and it gives background on more of the characters, and you can see a lot more character development. But Beau Smith's original Winona Earp is still pretty wicked. that's pretty much it for this tag. So you can subscribe if you want. You can hit the like button down below. You can follow me on all my social medias. I'll leave the link to them down below, and catch you later.